Hi, good morning, good day. Welcome to Real-Time Daily Trader Ideas. It's Tuesday, 14th of August 2018. We have 5 days a week, 5 different traders. We will speak about trading ideas, strategies, market screening, maybe 1 or 2 questions from your side directly answered on our webinar. Our goal is quick and smart, so let's have a nice start like every day. And like every day, we will start with our risk disclaimer. Forex and CFDs are complex instruments and come with a high risk of losing money rapidly due to leverage. If you are a starter, please start with a demo account and make yourself familiar with long trading, short trading, leverage trading, and your personal risk management. If you'd like to read the full risk disclaimer, just visit one of our web pages, for example, admiralmarkets.com, and you will find everything written down there. For example, also the key information documents kits, if you'd like to see that. From August 2018, in the whole European Union, it's important to know about the differences between retail clients and professional clients. Retail clients will get maximum leverage for Forex majors of 30. Professional clients can get a higher leverage up to their request and application. All details and differences about that, see admiralmarkets.com. Topic is ESMA. Here you see 2 more examples, DAX 30 and Euro-Dollar, how to trade with margin requirements at DAX 30 before ESMA and after ESMA, or as a retail client and as a professional client. Retail clients will get an unlimited protection against negative balances due to ESMA regulation. Professional clients will get an protection up to 50,000 British pounds according to our negative balance protection policy. All details here at the link. And this is me. My name is Jens. I'm the German guy from Admiral Markets. We are big, sorry, we are big international broker, but I'm not the main speaker. The main speaker is the day trader of today. This is our scheme. On Monday, it's Jay's day. Like today, on Tuesday, it's Paul's day. On Wednesday, it's Giancarlo's day. On Thursday, it's Marco's day. On Friday, it's Dirk's day. Our leading day traders live every business day to the same time. And of course, if you'd like to trade Forex and CFDs, you will get many benefits only with us. DAX 30 or Euro-Dollar, for example, triple spread of just 0.8 points or pips during the main trading hours without any additional commission. Check all that out on admiralmarkets.com. There you will find also our contact details and of course something about our regulatory background. Enough from my side. Now it's time for Paul. Good morning, good day, Paul. What's your view to the markets today?
Good morning, Jens. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can all see my screens. I hope you can all hear my voice. Hello there. Thanks for the introduction, Jens. Here we are, sort of Tuesday, 14th of August. So we're into a little bit of the summer lulls here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, but there's always still plenty for us to have a look at, and I'll happily take a few of your questions as well. So let's start with I want to sort of dig straight into something that I've been watching this morning, waiting and hoping to have a little look at for a trade opportunity, and it's based off our old favorites, namely starting to look with the dollar and seeing how that knocks into other opportunities for us to trade. So I'm just going to bring up here on our Admiral Markets Meta Trader 4 Supreme Edition. Okay, this is the dollar index chart here. So this is a weekly chart. For those of you new joining us for the first day, for the first time, my charts are very simple in that I've green bullish, red bearish candles, blue 20-period simple moving average, a red 50 simple moving average, and a green 200 simple moving average. And then I'll also draw on significant levels of horizontal support and resistance, those are the blue check lines, and then I'll draw on patterns and ideas as and when I see them. So this is the weekly chart. Those of you who've been joining me for the last couple of months, we've talked about this particular level, 95 here. Let me just put the cursor on. We've had this level here, 95, okay, that has acted as significant resistance for the last few months. And my plan or my view was that, I thought we might take a little bit of profit taking. Price might drive down a little bit or drift down before it reversed and made a strong move to the north side, which would give us a big inverse head and shoulders, a very nice, pretty inverse head and shoulders on the weekly chart. But as always, what I hope for the market to do and what it actually does is quite often divergent, and that is why, as a trader, hope is not a strategy. We can see here that last week price just blasted through that 95 level. Okay, it doesn't want to drift down. It's telling us that the sort of real dollar strength is really raging at the moment, and that just gives us sort of gives us an idea about what we should be looking at with regards to the other markets. Namely, if the dollar is raging, well then, that gives us an impression we know where the strength is. So we want to be trading strength against weakness, and we'll come on to that in a moment. So if I look down on that daily chart, there we go. We can see, if you remember, sort of, I think it was last week, 2 weeks, we were down here, and I was kind of talking about, well, I'd like to see price get beneath that 50-period moving average, okay, beneath that trend line, and if it did that, well, then that would support my, initial view that we might get a drift back down towards the sort of daily 200. But what we can see is we didn't get a real close beneath that. We actually bounced off the off that supporting trend line. We shot up to the sort of 95 area, and then we had this day here, okay, where we had just a strong break through that 95 level and a close, and then that followed through for the rest of the week. And I said that's just a strong indication of the strength of the dollar. So I don't want to be fighting that. Okay, I don't really particularly want to be fighting that on a sort of a longer term basis. Okay, dollar is the daddy when it comes to the FX markets. So that's what we need to sort of view upon and actually work with, and and we'll carry that through into our other trade ideas. So dollar is strong, okay. So let's look at how we can utilize that information to sort of make our other sort of trading decisions. So initially I'm basically attracted to the euro dollar here on the weekly chart. Here we go. Just bring that up there, and here we go. So here we go, euro dollar on the weekly chart. And we can see that for those of you who are new to trading, okay, the dollar index is made up of around about 57% of the euro, so it's not unusual for it to be a very, very good, clear sort of inverse correlated picture between the dollar index chart and the euro dollar. So as the dollar index charts blows to new highs, the euro dollar blows to new lows for the year, okay, and that's what we've seen there. But on a weekly chart, okay, what I'm interested in is that we've had a little bounce here, okay, a little bounce. We've hit the sort of the weekly 200 period moving average, and that's kind of intrigues me. There's always going to be a little bit of a reaction there, and then as we look down on a sort of a shorter time frame, well, that gives us an idea of some things to look at. If I go down to the daily chart, well, yeah, we just had that nice big triangle building. It blew out of it, came back, kissed the trend line, okay, so very often what you'll see here, we had a breakthrough, comes back, touches the trend line before it drops again, and that was a nice drop. And those of you who've been sort of short euro dollar, okay, is well done to you. That's been a nice trade over the last week. That actually kind of feeds into the bigger geopolitical picture, okay? Those of you who've been following the news, okay, over the last few days, what we've seen is we've seen some of the sort of trouble with the Turkish lira. That if you look at a chart of that, that's quite impressive there in terms of the moves we've seen. That has had the knock-on impact in terms of just fueling further dollar strength as money gets pulled out of emerging market economies and pushed back into the United States. But also, there's a little bit of a knock-on impact, for the euro, because it turns out that quite a few European banks, in particular the Spanish banks, are heavily weighted towards Turkey. So kind of any damage to Turkey's economy, any particular challenges they have there will have a knock-on impact into the European banks. So pretty much all of them are, I think, Spanish, French, Italian, German, British banks, they all have exposure. But in particular, my understanding is that Spanish and Italian banks are sort of the let's say the heaviest weighted there. So of course, any impact in Turkey is going to have that knock-on impact on the euro, and that's what we've seen a little bit. It's just added fuel to the fire in terms of seeing that sort of fall down there. So if I go down through to the euro dollar, what I'm looking at here, I can see that, prices, we've just had a little bit of a bounce there this week. Remember, we've hit that weekly 200. I'm kind of curious now to look at seeing how that, that here we have this sort of, we've got a little bit of a 4 hour there, okay, an engulfing candle, okay, a key reversal candle. It's closed just on its lows there. I'm kind of curious about that. And then this morning, what I'm doing just before we came on, I was looking here, watching on the 1 hourly chart here on the euro dollar. And it's kind of curious to see how the price action was playing out for us. We had, as I said, we had a little bounce off where the weekly 200 would be, and we were just forming. We had a kind of a nice supporting trend line there, and actually I had a view that we might actually have a little possible sort of a kind of a long trade back up towards the 1500 area. Okay, just a little bit of a deeper sort of retrace before the sort of the selling continues, and that might possibly be an option for us. Okay, we can see that they had a sort of an ascending triangle and downtrend trend, which is a viable pattern. Okay, is a viable pattern, especially when you have a nice supporting trend line that's been broken. So, what I'll be looking at here is be looking at an opportunity sort of to play this on both sides for the next few hours. I'll be looking, possibly on the long side here. Okay, so what I have is an opportunity where if we get a break up there above that kind of recent high of yesterday and this morning. So we're looking up there, using the mini terminal on the Supreme edition. Okay, it's for sort of shorter term trading, it's a fantastic tool to have. I would just have a bit of a longer order there, okay, around about 1435. Gave my stop loss down around about just the other side of that trend line there, about sort of 1403, 1404, and then basically looking at a target up towards around about that big round 1500 number. So that would be a kind of, I think that the longer term trend is down, and we're going to look at that a little bit more now. But I think it's not unusual for us to have a little bit of a bounce, perhaps a little bit of a possible sort of retrace back up to a number, an area where it's big round sort of psychological number. So, I'd be having there, as I said, we'll target about 1500, but I'd also have a decision point in terms of, watching how if price does break that and heads north, well, then actually I'll be looking around about that 1464, 1465 level as a bit of a first decision point to see how price reacted there. So that's kind of on the long side, but there's, we're in an interesting position with this euro dollar that have the opportunity to play it, excuse me, on both sides. We can see that we had this is the 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. sort of hourly candle here that we had a really strong bearish candle there. A lot of that I think will be off the we had this morning in the Eurozone. We had sort of German GDP, which I think was a little bit less than expected. It was a little weaker than expected. So of course that has an impact upon people's sentiment towards the euro and towards some of the indices within the European zone. But I'm interested to see that we've broken that trend line, okay, there, and we just looked on a daily chart about how sometimes price can break a trend line, can come back and can kiss it, okay, before it moves down. And on a shorter term frame, if I sort of start to look down, well, it gets me interested that we could actually also have a little bit of a sort of a shorter trade to the south side as a sort of very short term trade, looking at that for the sort of the next couple of hours as well. So I'd be looking at here, okay, about shorting there around about, looking at about 1400 there. I'll just use the mini terminal here, about 1400. Stop there just above the the sort of the recent congestion there, okay, around about 114.15, and then I'd be targeting back towards those kind of lows around about 1364, 1370 area. That's where we know that kind of weekly 200 period moving averages. So once again, I'm going to be risking about 15 pips to make about 35 pips. So it's just over 2 to 1 trade reward to risk. That's a perfectly good trade for me there. So I'm happy to sort of put that trade onto the market there. And so there we have, I actually have the sort of the euro dollar bracketed a little bit there. Okay, just to see how it plays out. That'll be something that'll give us a little bit of interest there for the next few hours over the remaining of the euro session. So there you go. That's euro dollar. I said that we'd have a little look at how that dollar strength has impacted other currencies. I appreciate that quite a few of people have asked questions about dollar yen and pound dollar. So let's have a little look at that. Okay. So I'll switch to my dollar profile that I have here on the MT4 Supreme Edition. So, as once again, I appreciate that I have a broad range of experience in the room. So I always try to help the new traders there, okay, who's starting out. So that what I have here is that, I have a profile set up with for each of the main FX currencies, okay. This here we can see at the, you might be able to see at the bottom there, it says US dollar. And what I have is just, all of the US dollar. I have here down at the bottom right, the dollar index. And then I have the sort of all the major currencies against the dollar itself, okay. So, I'll have euro dollar here, pound dollar, Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, dollar against the CAD, dollar against the yen, and dollar against the Swiss franc. And when I just bring this profile up, I can get a really quick blast at, okay, what's the sentiment on the dollar? How's the dollar doing against all the other currencies? Is there any discrepancies or divergences on that? Not surprisingly, that that with the dollar strong, for the vast majority of the party, we've seen real weakness across the other majors. So let's have a little look at pound against dollar, because we've got some major news coming out sort of tomorrow there for sterling in terms of I think we've got sort of CPI and coming out there tomorrow, and that will be of interest to people to keep an eye on it. So you just talked about the dollar having a breakout above 95 and the strength that showed. We saw that the euro dollar, had a breakdown there beneath 115, down towards 114 zone. And if I look at pound against dollar here, okay, this is the weekly chart against pound against dollar. And realistically, this gives a great indication that, we had, for a year ago, we had, sterling strength, dollar weakness, but we had a beautiful sort of double top here on the weekly chart off that sort of weekly 200 period moving average with a big, nice weekly engulfing candle. And then as, we've had dollar strength and then sterling weakness based upon the back of, the sort of Brexit political shenanigans that are going on. Not unsurprisingly, we've had a sort of a drift down here, okay? We talked a few weeks ago about the sort of price back down to the sort of 130 level, we thought we might get a bounce or two off it, which we did at first, but then actually you can see last week, okay? Last week we had that dollar strength, okay? Sterling weakness, euro weakness, and what we had was, just a real shift down towards there, okay? We broke that 130 level, okay, and we started to move ourselves pretty strongly down there, okay. We can see that we sort of tapped out there about 127.22 there, just in in terms of the run we had. So might be surprised if you have a little bit of a profit taking session there, okay, a little bit of a breather, okay. Markets, they surge then rest, they surge then rest, and that's what I'm kind of seeing at the moment. We had a little bit of a sort of a push up off that this morning. We had a little bit of a push, but we can see that actually what we had there is, there's a once again a big strong sterling sort of US dollar bearish move. Some of that will be linked to sentiment. We had an incident at the Houses of Parliament this morning around about 20 to 8 this morning. Okay, my understanding on the latest news is that was it was an isolated incident, and it wasn't although there have been some people injured, okay, in outside of the Houses of Parliament, that we can make sure that that so far from what I see, there's been no fatalities, but of course that has a particular sentiment, and we can see that is what has happened there. That's what's brought that kind of sterling a little bit of a collapse there for the morning. So I would say that is just a reaction there, okay? That's a reaction to the sort of incidents in London this morning. But, I believe that, actually what we're going to do is pound against dollars. I think we'll actually we'll have a little bit of a breather here, okay? Pound against dollar until tomorrow. And what I'd be looking for sort of to watch and shoot is to see that, can we actually get a little bit of if the news tomorrow is poor, I'll be looking for a break of that sort of 127.40 area. That's what I'll be looking at if the news out of the UK tomorrow is poor. Let's get a break out of that, and that's what we'll be looking at to be short upon that. I know somebody wants to have a look at dollar yen, so let's bring that up there, okay? And we'll talk about it. Here we go. I'll just bring this up onto the weekly chart. Here we go. So dollar yen here on the weekly chart, it's been kind of interesting in the sense that, even though we've had, real dollar strength over the last few weeks, it's actually, the sort of the dollar, whilst the dollar's the strong, the yen has been the second strongest, okay? And there's always a little bit of a tussle been going on there. It's been going on around about this treble 10 level, okay? Treble one has been been an interesting level for pretty much about the last 18 months, okay? Hopefully you can see there on the weekly chart that it's almost like a sort of a datum point, okay? A datum point there, okay, you in the with the dollar yen. But on a weekly chart, well, I was looking at this kind of as a break out of a bit of a longer trend line. I'm not entirely convinced that we've come back to kiss the trend line yet. What I'd need to see is maybe a little bit more sort of dynamism, okay, a little bit of a sort of a stronger move up, breaking about 111.70, 112, okay, to give me an indication on the longer term that we might get dollar against yen strength continued through there. If I look on the daily chart, it doesn't really excite me a great deal there at the moment. Okay, I see it just being a little bit scrappy there around about that, as I said, around about that 111, treble one. Okay, on the daily chart, what I look at is, we're at that treble one level. We've got the, the sort of the 20 period moving average above, coming down. We're just above the 200, around about the 15. And there's a little bit of a squeeze coming on. Okay, price is just getting maybe a little bit squeezed there between the averages and the sort of the particular level. And so I'd be just keeping an eye on this. Okay, at the moment, I don't personally see a trade right this moment here on that. As I said, for me to be convinced that we're going to get a sort of a good strong move to the uptrend, or to the upside, I'd be wanting to see a kind of a break above, as I said, around about that 111.60 level. Okay, that's what we want to. I see there's a lot of congestion, a lot of traffic there, and that's what would kind of that is what would sort of make me a little bit nervous of just going long right in this moment. I'd need to see us break that congestion, and then if we continue above 160, 170, then I'd be interested in starting to look at sort of a let's say a longer term dollar strength position. So there you go, all the traders. I appreciate we sort of tried to fly through quite a few elements there. Okay, as I said, there's keep an eye on that euro dollar for the rest of the day. We have, as I said, sterling news announcements will probably come out because of that incident this morning, but also because of we have news coming out of the UK tomorrow. And as always, if we have time for a question, I'll take it, Jens. If not, I wish you all the best of success in your own trading this week.
Thanks for today. Our goal is always quick and smart, so the time is a limit. Tomorrow is another day. Tomorrow, a new day trader, and we have 15 to 20 minutes. But if you would like to see that again, a couple of hours later, it will be available on YouTube channel. So just visit youtube.com/Admiral Markets FX, and you will find it in a couple of hours. Thanks to Paul. Greetings from Berlin office, and all the time, good trades to you. Bye-bye.